Welcome back to Straight Facts. I'm joined by Hussam. How are you, my friend? You good? You well?
Yes, I'm good. Big up the people, big up the chat, big up the Football Terrace audience. Make sure you guys are liking, make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel. Another week, another Straight Facts, more disaster for your club, and we're here for it. Let's go.
I know, and I'm sure we'll get onto that. But it is a disaster, but we've done better than you said we would. You said we'd lose to Everton and lose to Galatasaray, so it's been bad, but not as bad as you thought. Yes. I remembered that. I was so hoping we were going to beat them because I'd be like 2-2. But I wanted to start actually with the big news of the last 24 hours, slightly away from the playing field, and that is that a date has been set for just under 12 months for Manchester City to face their trial, their hearing, I suppose, for the financial doping allegations, the cheating allegations. They're saying that the results, though, of this hearing will not come until the end of the 2025 season. Like, what is your take on that from an outsider's point of view?
First of all, I'm glad the trial date. It's good that it's next season because low-key, I thought it was going to take longer. Like, I thought we were going to be here for 3-4 years talking about Man City's charges. The fact that it's next year is good news in terms of like the trial and stuff. Next we can wait a year. Like, it's okay. They've been cheating 12 years, so one more year ain't gonna affect our life like that. So we can wait one more year. And in terms of the results of the trial coming on at the end of the season, look, if they want to take their time and go through details and have the judge and the jury and all this just kind of do extra work to get to the perfect kind of real answers, then I have no problem with that. And for me, look, it's just I've always been reasonable with this whole situation. I've been someone who's used logic and reasoning and not my own like motives. I've explained it being someone from the region, and I've explained it using logic, if you would like. And I look, at the end of the day, for me personally, just as me as Hussam, if they're found innocent, they're still guilty in my eyes. So I'm not awaiting the court for me to make my mind up. Like, it's just it's just, I think they're guilty, to be honest with you, and I hope they're found guilty, and I hope they're stripped of their titles, and I hope the perfect punishment is in place. And I said this on last week's Straight Facts show. I said the fact that Everton got a 10 points deduction over one charge now sets a bad precedence for them, because everyone's going to be like, okay, so even if they're found guilty, let's say, of 10 charges out of the 115, if they're found guilty of the 10 charges, 5 charges, whatever it is, then we also expect just as much harsh punishments. And what you said last week is 100% right. With Everton, it's like essentially they got it wrong in terms of transfers, they got it wrong in terms of like results on the pitch, and they paid the price. But with Manchester City, if they're found guilty of cheating, that's 100% worse than getting it wrong and not getting results based on your spending. So yeah, that for me is the main thing, because they've set the precedent now. 10 points deduction for one charge like that. So we expect a lot worse for Manchester City if they're found guilty.
Look, I think it's an intro. I'm glad a date's been set as well. It is still a way away, but that's because some City fans use this as a defense of, the media only knows a small percentage of what's going on. And I think they're right. I think there is far more that's going to come out in this case. I think there's far more allegations than we have any idea of. So I think that what we've seen via those leaked emails into the media, I think and again, I've read this in other articles because journalists haven't been shown anything, but they've been told by people that is tip of the iceberg. I found this really interesting thread today that was put out by the Swedish Ramble, who are really, this guy's a Man United fan, so there is a bit of bias there, and I will admit that. But it's a really detailed look at what's going on. And there's a really great question that he asks here, and I'm not going to read out his whole tweet because this tweet is long. But he sits there and goes, Why will City's case be decided so long after Everton's case? It's easy. Man City have delayed the Premier League's investigation with pure stalling tactics, resulting in the investigation that started in 2018 couldn't really proceed before July 2021. So just in those sort of 3 years, and they show a graphic from the Athletic of the ways that City delayed the investigation, let alone the outcome of that. He goes on to say, as below, an excellent summary details, doesn't even include the latest claim that the head of the panel to try City's case, that they're calling it impartial. And it goes on and explains all these things that City are doing to try and prolong the case. And then the question is, so what's City's chances of winning this and why are they delaying it? And he says, one of the reasons is they're waiting for the landscape to change. He says, for instance, if somebody told me the current Premier League rulebook in the relevant sections may have been withdrawn to have Man City expelled, I wouldn't proceed. The Premier League doesn't have to prove anything beyond reasonable doubt. The lowest possible evidence standard applies instead. So they don't have to, beyond reasonable doubt, prove these things. If there's a small shred of evidence, they could be found guilty. What they're saying the Premier League are trying to do, the City obviously trying to cost them money and they're trying to delay things and they're trying to work on their case. He's also stating that they're doing it in hope that the landscape changes and new rules potentially get voted in, which remove some of these charges for them. And then Simon Jordan called it out today. And what I find so interesting is that Simon Jordan called it out and said, if you have irrefutable, cast iron, 100% evidence that you are innocent and you have no fear of this trial, why do you continue to delay it? Why do you continue to kick the can down the street? Why do you continue to try and have it thrown out? Why don't you just embarrass the Premier League, turn up and show them that every transaction is legitimate? You've never broken any rules. If you have what City claim is irrefutable evidence that you are innocent. So, for instance, if I was arrested today for stealing a car at 3 p.m., but I had CCTV footage and CCTV footage in 4K of me 50 miles away at 3 p.m., I wouldn't even be charged by the police because I have irrefutable evidence and an alibi that I'd be able to provide to them and say, that is me at this location. Check my phone records. That, I must have texted at that time or tweeted or something, and you'd pick me up on the mask. I was not where I'm accused of being. That is irrefutable evidence. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not professing to be. I'm just putting it out that there are some really detailed explanations as to what City's delay tactics. My question is, if you're so innocent, why would you do that? I cannot, and there could be a good explanation, but I haven't heard one yet that makes me go, you know what? That's a really good point. The only reason I think you're delaying is to cost the Premier League money, to try and fatigue them, and looking for the landscape to change as an example, or maybe waiting for this to go away. And I don't think it is. So it's really interesting to see how this is going to pan out. It really, really is.
The thing is, if City are innocent, as City fans make out, unless it's City fans, I'll be honest with you, like 60 to 70% of the City fans I met are just all robotic, to be honest with you. Just a bunch of robots. It's just like they regurgitate all the same shit. And for me, look, if they're innocent, as you just said, come check my information and stuff, and you'll see that I'm innocent. Simple. Like, essentially, just come out and go like, this is irrefutable evidence, as you said, that all these money transactions are 100% legitimate, and let's just rock and roll. But instead, they keep postponing it and postponing it and postponing it. Maybe a couple of more charges will be more time barred or something like that. I don't know what. There might be even ulterior motives to all this. So for me, I think with Manchester City, look, anyone with any logic, sound reasoning, deep down, if we switch off the cameras, if we just speak, sensibly, to each other, we just go like, listen, we all know they're guilty. Let's just cut the crap here. The way that the foundation, how it all started, that what happened after that, them making money during COVID, like, it's just all of these things.
Well, and this is the thing. There's a comment here that says, Terry, the burden of proof is on the Premier League, not City. And I think that's an interpretation, but it's fair. Let's just say you're right. So if the burden of proof is on the Premier League and City say they've got irrefutable evidence, why are City spending enormous amounts of money to prevent the hearing from happening? I personally, if I was on a hearing that I could categorically prove my innocence in, I'd want it to go ahead. I would want to embarrass you. Trying to get it cancelled by continually saying that the QCs that you're employing are not partial, are not impartial. And by the way, you're never going to be able to find someone they're happy with in England, because they're always going to support a team that you could find a connection to hating. Oh, he's a Lincoln fan. We knocked them out of the League Cup in 1992. He can't be on the board. So and plus as well, when you say the burden of proof is on the Premier League, not according to this statement here that I read earlier on today from a business lawyer who wrote this. He says, if the Premier League can show an email that suggests something, it is upon Manchester City to prove that they are innocent, not the Premier League to prove their guilt. They just need to show evidence. So the Premier League do not need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that City have broken these rules. They only have to provide evidence they've done it, and City have to prove or disprove that evidence. So it's not, you don't need burden. This isn't a criminal case. And I'm only repeating here what other lawyers are saying. So it's very, very interesting. This here super chat says, my biggest reason for now wanting okay, we'll come back to the sin bins and something else a bit later on in the show. City and Chelsea need to prove their innocence. It's the Chelsea case, I think, so key. And I know some Chelsea and City fans are kind of like pairing up on this. I'm like, Chelsea, you guys are reporting yourselves. If Chelsea hold their hands up and admit to all this stuff and set precedents, that could be bad news for City. It is what it is. Tony here says City have something to hide, hence the delays.
The Terry example, by the way, like if you just measure it, the analogy, the real life analogy compared to real life. Let's say, like if I get charged, with aggravated battery, like I beat someone up at 3 p.m. UK time on a Friday, and I have literal irrefutable evidence, like, yo, I was actually on fucking YouTube at 3 p.m. UK. So unless I beat up my camera, it's irrefutable evidence, right? If you have irrefutable evidence, why don't you just show the evidence? This is why I'm inclined to agree with what Tony's saying and with what Terry said earlier on. Many people are saying, if you don't have nothing to hide, why don't you just go through the legal proceedings and just keep it stepping?
I had this conversation with a City fan not long ago, and it was a private conversation, so I won't reveal who the person was, but he said to me that the lawyers of Man City advised the club to not cooperate. Now, he said that's what the lawyers said, and I'm like, why did they say that? And his response, and I might get this, I don't remember it fully, but it was along the lines of, well, it's what they were legally advised to do, so that's what they did. But for me, it's a case of, I don't understand. If you're accused of any crime, if you're accused of cheating, if you're accused of fraud, if you're accused of just breaking rules and laws, and to prove your innocence, they want access to the evidence. Why would you say no if you're innocent? In any walk of life, unless you've got other things you're hiding, mate. I understand, by the way, if the police say, can we come and search your house? We think you have drugs in there, but you don't, but you've got guns that are hid. You're not going to let the police in without a warrant because they'll find the guns and you'll still get in trouble. But if you've got nothing illegal in your house, I know that some people say, someone might plant something or whatever else, but listen, with the way that police are all cameraed up these days, would that even be possible? I don't know. But the point is, you'd let them in. You wouldn't turn around to the police and go, well, I'm not going to show you the CCTV. You're just going to have to believe me that I'm innocent. Yeah. You'd show them the CCTV. So that, again, and maybe I'm being...
If you say you have irrefutable evidence, show it. Simple.
Yeah.
Show it to the world.
I
because
agree.
We all read the damn emails. Everyone read the emails. Simple. We all read the emails. We all saw the emails.
Kaz here says, used to dislike Kassam, but now he's grown
Let me
on
tell
me.
you exactly when you disliked me and when I grew on you. And I could tell by your profile picture when it happened. Because during the entire summer, I was saying Liverpool are a more attractive club to go to than Arsenal. And then at the end of the summer, I said Arsenal are going to win the league. And that's when I became friends with the Arsenal fan base. So I know exactly when you turned.
Your Arsenal fans used to hate me. And now I think their team's good and they love me. Treble winners, deal with it. Listen, you are treble winners. And I'm different to Hassam, though. If you're proven innocent, I'll believe it.
I won't.
I will. Again, for me, though, it's proven innocent in the sense of it. If I see the evidence that all these things are false accusations and they can categorically prove that they did things right, then I will believe them. Of course I will. I can't not. But I'm so intrigued by this case. Plastic treble, 115 equals guilty until proven innocent. No, they are innocent until proven guilty.
Facts,
that's where me and Hassan disagree. They are innocent until proven guilty. That's why they're still able to compete. And honestly, this trial is going to be amazing. It's not going to be, but I want them to like O.J. Simpson this and televise it. Like,
Yes,
I'd love
I
to
wish I
sit
was
and
about to
watch it.
say I wish they televise it, I really do. I wish they televise. We need like we need this televised, we need some proof, we need some evidence. I want to see it. At the end of the day, the reason they're postponing it is get something to hide. Full stop. And if you're innocent, just cooperate, show the evidence, and the whole world will say you're innocent. But yeah, we all know that you're guilty anyway. So
Terry, guilty until proven innocent and beyond reasonable doubt are court terms, has no bearing on a private independent arbitration. I'm just reading out what other people have said and done, and maybe the language isn't correct. We're football fans here talking, but our questions, I think what we can do sometimes, Lewis, is, I know we live in the era of people sometimes take you by exactly the words you use as opposed to taking you on what you mean. So, of course, general everyday fans are going to say things that maybe isn't quite the right terminology, but you know what we mean, you know what we're implying. So I think we can just be grown up and kind of look beyond that, I personally think and feel. But viewers, please hit the like button for us. Please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace today and turning on the bell notifications as well so you don't miss any of our streams. Now, I wanted to ask you, Man United this weekend, we play Newcastle. How do you see that game going? Obviously, gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the title race soon. We're going to talk City versus Tottenham as well. We're touching on Arsenal and Liverpool in the title race. But we just want to touch on Man United for a minute. How do you see this weekend going against tomorrow evening going against Newcastle?
Oh my God. First of all, last week was straight facts. I said it's going to be 3 L's. You beat Everton. Fair enough. Galatasaray, you absolutely bottled it. 3-1. That game right there epitomizes everything wrong with Manchester United. Individual mistake by Onana. Ten Hag, absolutely idiotic substitution that cost the game, taking Amrabat off for me. And it's just it's a thing of beauty. St. James's Park is a difficult place to go for any club. Manchester City lost there, except if you're Liverpool, because we just always beat Newcastle. But other than that, they've literally beaten everyone at St. James's Park. So it's probably, I'd say, probably the fourth toughest stadium to go to. I'd say Etihad is number one. I'd say Anfield is number two. And by the way, speaking of Etihad, Manchester City fans have been salty as fuck about the Trent thing. Hold that on your head top. Now, Emirates is third, and I'd say fourth is St. James's Park. That for me is a difficult place to go. And for me, the fact that Manchester United are going away after the disappointing draw to Galatasaray that has them fourth in their Champions League group, I think gives you negative momentum, if anything, because Newcastle are gonna want to bounce back after they got robbed away at PSG. And this is the thing now. Like, look, usually we praise European referees. All I want is the same energy. I've always been someone who just says, just show me same energy. If the fuck's his name? If the Livramento one is a handball, then the McTominay one is an even worse handball. So this is the problem. Just keep same energy. I think Newcastle got robbed personally.
Oh, Newcastle was definitely robbed, 100%.
Because it hit his stomach and then it hit his arm, which is not a penalty. But this is where you go away to PSG, you go away to Bayern, you go away to these clubs. You get that tax, to be honest with you. But for me, Newcastle got robbed. And like the game for Galatasaray, Manchester United, like, it was unfortunate, but it could have been a lot more unfortunate. Like, it really could have been 4-3, 5-3. But the one thing I will say, I don't even think Galatasaray played well. I really don't even think Galatasaray played well, which is the mad part.
They didn't. In a nutshell, with that game, looking back, it's a hostile environment to go to, but we started the game amazingly. We were 2-0 up with two great goals, playing good football. We were then in control. And yes, they were attacking us and having sort of shots, but they weren't even dangerous. They then scored a free kick, which was a ridiculous ball by the goalkeeper and a mistake. It was then a little bit bitty for the rest of the first half, but from the start of the second half onwards, until we went 3-1 up, we dominated. We then dominated for the next 7 or 8 minutes until another nothing free kick was stupidly let in by the goalkeeper, or in fact punched into his own net.
That second goal was bad by Onana.
It was awful. And then they scored what was a very good goal. They scored a very good goal because their towels were up. And then it became a basketball match, and we lacked clinical edge towards the end of the game. We made one big mistake in that match, and it was taking off Amrabat for Kobe. Not Kobe coming on. Kobe coming on was brilliant. But it should have been McTominay that came off, and him and McTominay should have shielded that back line at 3-1, and I think we would have seen that game out. maybe an anonymous
They
mistake would have
both
to be
together,
made.
you mean Amrabat and Mainu together, right?
Yeah, together it should have been
Yeah,
what we
I
did,
agree.
and that's then. By the way, for the Newcastle game, that's who needs to start. It needs to be Kobe and Amrabat in that game. Otherwise, we are getting run through. We are getting run through like diarrhea. It's going to go through like diarrhea, bruv. Through you.
Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes are the two ones you want to go to war with. And Miley. Those three midfielders right there, including Miley, the youngster, to be fair, who's been impressive the last 2 games. These are 3 midfielders you look at and you're like, I'm about to go to war with these 3 right here. Like, I'd go to war with Joe Linton. I'd go to war with Bruno Guimaraes. I'd go to war with these players. I ain't trying to go to war with McTominay, Bruno, whoever the hell. So, for me, I completely agree with you. I think that substitution changed the game negatively because it should have been Amrabat and Mainu together because you were 3-1 up. Just keep the ball, keep possession, play defensive, and win the game. And you exit that stadium with 3 points, and you're in a much better position headed into the last game. Now, essentially, if Copenhagen beat Galatasaray, it's over for you. And if Galatasaray beat Copenhagen, it's over for you. So you have to wait on a draw in that game, and you have to beat Bayern Munich as well, which is also a tough ask to begin with. So that's the problem.
No, it's very, very true indeed. And I think on top of that as well, it puts more pressure now on the Newcastle game because we're on the back of another poor result. And I genuinely mean this. We have got little to no chance of beating Newcastle this weekend. And I know that the top Reds out there in Man United, you've got to back your team. I back my team as in I want them to win. But saying my team is going to win is not backing my football club. It's me lying to myself. Even if we're 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes, I still won't have confidence we'll win. Because we have the ability to collapse and fall apart. Both teams have got major injuries. Both teams have got players missing that are important. But it's at St. James's Park. They get up for this game every year. For us to win, it's going to have to be one of the best performances we've had under Erik ten Hag. It's going to have to be a great performance for us to beat them for 90 minutes. I also think starting Onana again is a big mistake. I would sell him. In January, he had such an awful start. I was fuming with him, and I thought,
you'd sell Onana?
I'd sell him. Done.
Fuck.
Done.
Man. How come?
Too many mistakes. This isn't. You could do a compilation of the mistakes that Alisson's made over the past 5-6 years. There'll be less in it than the first 3 months of this man at Man United. So
you know one thing I will say in defense of Onana. Onana's been horrible. Let's just say it as it is. Okay, but one thing I'll say in his defense. And this is where I watched the match reaction, and Staffy was making this point, and I actually thought about it, and I was like, he's actually saying the truth here. If you want to play possession style ball playing football, and you get Onana, you get the best out of Onana. But if you want Onana to become a shot stopper, should have just kept De Gea then. That's the thing. So that's the point
I do agree. I do agree with that. But this isn't someone who the goals that he's let in. I wouldn't expect. If we promoted today the 16-year-old goalkeeper in the under-18s, I wouldn't expect him to make the mistakes on the amount of weak shots that have gone in is unbelievable. It's ridiculous. And my personal feeling is he will not recover at Man United. We will not see the goalkeeper that Inter Milan had. We won't have the goalkeeper that Ajax had for the vast majority. I think mentally he's already gone. And now the manager has come out and said one more mistake and he's dropped. Well, now you know that's in his head. He's going to make another mistake, and he'll probably make it this weekend.
Has he actually said that publicly?
Well, it's come out via the media, but we know Man United leaked this news like we leaked like a broken fridge. I really was raving. No, I have to hold my hand up.
Ten Hag's man management is just awful. I'll be honest with you. That's awful.
I just think it's one of these things for me. Like when he came in, I thought he's a good enough shot stopper for the Premier League. I looked at his distribution and was like, he's really going to improve us. We'll be more pressure resistant. We'll get the ball into the danger areas more. Not only has his shot stopping been amateur, his distribution's been bang average. And there's something, and I get what Staffy said. We're not playing. We don't have the players to playing out from the back, but he don't find the men anyway. So I understand it if he was finding his target and they always miscontrolling it. But he ain't finding his target. And 3 goals we've conceded this season have come from bad passes out the back from him, not from his teammates having bad control. So for me, look, I was buzzing about it. He's a goalkeeper I rated massively. You know, just like Chelsea fans when they signed Shevchenko as an example, and I'm sure you can all think about this at your clubs. We've all signed players where we've gone, this man's going to kill it. And for one reason or another, he hasn't done it. And for me, when I look at a goalkeeper, that's a position that you have to have so much confidence in. This isn't a man who's also 20 years old and can get better. This is the man in his pomp. I think he'll just continue to make these mistakes. Therefore, he won't be sold. I know the club won't sell him, but I would in January.
Yes,
I'd make an absolute
but my
statement.
point, all you need to do, just call DiMarzio. Call DiMarzio, set up an interview, the same one Lukaku had. Have Onana call Lautaro Lauti in the interview, and Inter Milan will come back for him. Inter Milan are by far the biggest thieves in world football. They're out here selling everyone dreams. You know who's the next dream they're going to sell? I'm telling you guys right now, quickly. I know no one here gives a fuck about Serie A, and fair enough. Neither do I, to be honest with you. But the next dream they're going to sell is Dumfries. Dumfries is the next dream. I'm telling you right now, he's going to come to a Premier League club, either yours or Chelsea, and he's going to be fucking shit. Like, he's going to be shit. That's the next dream they're going to sell. With Onana, here's the thing. You could argue low-key, he's actually the main factor why Manchester United got eliminated from Champions League to begin with. Because he's cost you goals in every single game. It's not like once or twice. It's every single game. Copenhagen, he saved the penalty towards the end. Fair enough. You could say he won you 3 points there, but doesn't make up for all the other points dropped in all the other games. And for me, the one thing I will say as well about this whole Onana situation, I told you in the summer, by the way, I don't think Onana and Mount work together. Been proven right, because it just shows that the way that you're playing football is not yet defined. And this is where, for me, the ultimate problem goes down. And this is where me and you have agreed. Because now, last season has just become pointless. Everything you did last season has been thrown down the drain.
I totally agree with that, because the evolution and the approach we've gone with hasn't worked. That's because we have no real plan. That's because most managers of football clubs are not really managers. They're head coaches, and they should be there coaching the way the club want them to, but we let our managers at Man United buy who they want, and there's no one to really stop it, and it's all just a mess.
But isn't that what you guys wanted, to be fair? To play devil's advocate? Didn't you guys want managers to have more power?
No. See, this is the misconception. We want our managers backed, and this is where it becomes, when you go, I'm against the Glazers, people go, but you spent money. The manager got the players he wanted. People go back and look at multiple videos of mine from over the years. I don't want my manager having complete control. No one's going to be the new Fergie. There can be a football manager, which Fergie's job basically was sporting director and head coach rolled into one. That don't exist anymore. I'm telling you now, we know it with your manager. Look at the players Klopp wanted to sign versus the players that the club signed. You could have been in a very different situation if Klopp was given full control.
100%.
The manager needs to be listened to. The manager needs to have a large amount of power at a football club. But when it comes to buying players, everybody has to be on the same wavelength. Our recruitment team, our board, and our manager, all three fight for different types of players to come into a team. Now, sometimes the manager will get some right, sometimes he'll get some wrong, but there needs to be one true vision and then a coach that coaches that. Now, the coach should have the power to say, I'm not playing this guy because he's been bad in training or he's been performing badly, but they shouldn't have control over your transfers, especially not in the first few years that they are there. And
would you agree Ten Hag has had the most power since Fergie?
No.
Out of all the other managers?
No. What has happened since...
Who had more power?
LVG, Jose, and Ollie all had as much power as him in terms of getting the players they wanted. However, what happens, and Ten Hag just hasn't been here long enough yet, is you get to a stage where they remove that power. So Jose, year one, power. First year, second year, power. Towards the end of his second year, about 19, 20 months into the job, they started removing it. By the summer, his third summer, so two years in, they weren't letting him get what he wanted anymore. This will eventually happen if the Glazers stay in charge of the football operation to Ten Hag. Eventually, they'll say, no more players, mate. And then they give you too much in the beginning without any clear direction of the club. And then when it ain't working, they pull it all away. It's one extreme to the other. It's absolutely, and I've been calling it out for 7 years now. It's an horrendous way to run a football club. But look, we'll see how it goes. What's your score prediction for Man United Newcastle?
Fucking hell. I'm going to give you a goal because of Newcastle's injuries. I'm going to say 3-1 Newcastle. I think Newcastle win this game. I think Spurs have a bigger chance of getting something away at City than you do at Newcastle. That's how bad I think you are.
Wow.
I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. I just think it's just headed nowhere currently. It's
So,
headed nowhere.
so on that, I'm going to ask you on that actually. How do you see that game? You see a shock this weekend. You did
Did I,
message me
mate?
this earlier. Do you see a shock? Do you see Tottenham getting something at the Etihad, of all places?
Spurs fans, it's time to put our differences aside. You get me? It's time to come together to beat the bigger enemy. I feel it in my veins. Oh, when the Spurs go marching in. I can't wait. I think Spurs are going to get something. Spurs are City's bogey team. And you know, this is the one time I'll back Ainge. And I'll actually back Ainge's style this Sunday at the Etihad. I just need him to not be as aggressive with it. I'll explain in a second. If Spurs go to Tottenham Hotspur and if Spurs, sorry, go away to City and they park the bus, they're going to get pumped. If Spurs park the bus against Manchester City, Emerson Royal and Ben Davies and whoever the fuck they got at the back will get bullied by Erling Haaland. This is the one game where I actually agree with Ange Postecoglou's approach, which is try doing something. Now, if they press Manchester City and win the ball in dangerous positions, all we need is for Son to be number one onside, because he was offside against Aston Villa fucking 17 times. First of all, let me also, because I'm not shameless like the Spurs fans are by far the worst. You give them a little bit of success. No, actually, I take that back. Man United fans are the worst. Second worst is Spurs. But anyway, they're really bad because you give them a little bit and you give them an inch and they take a mile, essentially. So against Aston Villa, I'm going to be completely honest, Ange Postecoglou coached a 7-0. Like, he really did. Like, I don't think you could blame Ainge for Aston Villa because it's just they kept missing chances and everyone was offside and shit. That ain't Ainge's fault. Now, against Manchester City, the players need to execute the Ainge game plan properly. They need to execute it 100%. And if they execute it properly and they win the ball in dangerous positions, all we need is for Son to be onside and for him to be clinical, and they have a chance. Manchester City are not as unstoppable as people make out. They're really not as unstoppable as people make out. You are 2-0 up, 2-0 down, sorry, to fucking Leipzig. You were 2-0 down. So I think Spurs are capable of getting something. Now, I'm not going to come up here and say Spurs are going to win away at the Etihad, but I will say they can get a draw. And I'm actually going for another high-scoring game. By the way, if you notice with Manchester City, other than the Liverpool game, because we stifled them and we caused our own downfall, they've low-key been conceding a lot of goals. 2 against Leipzig, 4 against Chelsea. Like, they've been conceding recently. I think this game is going to end in a 3-3 draw, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game because of Ainge's style. All that it will take for Spurs to get a result has nothing to do with Ainge. It has to do with the players on the football pitch actually executing. And the reason why I say what I say in terms of actually attack them, so many times teams come up against Manchester City, they wait to get punched first and then they react. And then by the time they react, it's too late. With Spurs, this time they should go in there and try punch them in the face first. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So yeah, that's my summary of the game right there.
I understand your point. I mean, Chelsea kind of did that. I know that they were losing 3 times in the game, but they just went at Chelsea. And maybe that approach will kind of shock the players a little bit. But do you not worry that if Spurs are that open against this Man City team, could they not ship 5, 6, 7 goals in this game?
They could, but if they park the bus, they're shipping 5 anyway. So what's the fucking point? Might as well just try. Do you honestly think in a low block, Højbjerg and Dyer and Emerson Royal and whoever the fuck's playing can deal with Haaland in a low block? How many low blocks has Haaland played against this season? How many low blocks have Manchester City played against this season? Anytime Manchester City come up against a team, it's low block, low block, low block, low block. So this is just food and drink for them. Nothing easier than a low block to deal with for Manchester City. So that's actually easy. But if you press their center backs, if you press their full backs, if you try win the ball in a dangerous position, if you get in behind them, by the way, like Son usually as well scores at the Etihad. So for me, with Tottenham Hotspur, I think they will get something away at the Etihad. But this is where also at the same time Ainge needs to be a bit more cautious. When it comes to being a bit more cautious, even if you do want to keep a high line, relax on how high it is. Because Haaland's pace and power is too much and you ain't got Van de Ven. So I'm not telling you to drop your principles. I'm just telling you drop the line by 10 yards. That's it. Start your build up 10 yards from behind. I don't think that is that negative, and it just ruins what Ainge is doing. Spurs will get something.
I understand where you're coming from. And I think the Spurs are going to attack. There is no way they are going to sit back, be defensive. They're going to play a high line. And I think they'll score against Man City. I do, because they almost score against everybody. I think they may have scored against everybody this season with the way they attack, the way they open in the Premier League anyway, the way they open up. I do get it. But I just think with the amount of injuries they've got, the players that will be in that back line and the team they are up against, this could be one of those games where Ange will still get praised, by the way, for not walking away from his principles. I think this is going to be a beating. I think this is going to be an absolute drumming, an absolute beatdown. If they don't finish, I mean, if they finish their chances, it can be different. But I just got this. This could be lamb to the slaughter. This could be lambs to the slaughter. It really could. And Kate, actually, here, one of our panelists and one of the members of the channel, I hope you're well, Kate, says, I'm a realist. I just cannot see us getting anything at the Etihad. And I can't either. And in fairness, I kind of want Spurs to at least get a draw in this game, because I want this title race to be as close as possible. So a draw is what I would like. A draw is what I would like. But I just can't.
When you say beating, what result are you talking about? Like what? 4, 5?
Everybody will see my score prediction on the Top 6 show tonight when we do golden goals, but it's big. I think Spurs are going to get an absolute trouncing. They're going to get smashed to pieces. They're going to get smashed apart.
Fair enough if you think that, and I understand why you think that, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And it's not based on like me wanting Spurs to get the result. I actually think logically, Manchester City haven't been as good as people make out, to be honest with you. And all I'm saying is, realistically speaking, let's all be real about it. If your two center backs are Royal and Davies and you park the bus, you're going to fucking lose. Like, Haaland is going to destroy
I'm not saying you should park the bus. I get you on that. My point is, with the way they play, how open they'll be, giving City that space at the Etihad with the players that will be on the pitch for Tottenham, it's going to be a massacre. It is going to be like
the Emirates, to be fair. They got a draw.
No, but they had all their players. So I thought Arsenal would beat them, but this is different. There's no Mickey van der Ven. Yes, but again, Arsenal should have put that game to bed, but they had all their players available. They have got. Let's just look at it now, right? While we're live on the air, and go. Maybe there's been an update or two, because I know that who scored isn't always 100% accurate. But I'm looking at this now. Spurs have out Sessegnon, Perisic, Solomon, Van der Ven, Richarlison, Maddison, Bentancur, Romero. Their main two centre-backs are out. It says here that Papasar is doubtful. I don't know whether that's been confirmed. With all those players out, their starting lineup is going to consist. Their back line is going to be Udogie, Davis and Royale as centre-backs, who are full-backs, and Porro. Basuma's back in, which is good. Lo Celso in the middle. They're going to have Brian Hill on the left.
Baby. Let's go.
Brian Hill on the left and Johnson on the right. You really think this is a team that is one going to create the chances? Because there's no way they're getting a clean sheet. They've got to score 2 or 3 goals. How are they scoring 2 or 3 goals at the Etihad and not shipping more? I don't know, mate. I can't see it.
Son Heung-min. That's how. Son usually does well away at the Etihad. Bro, we've seen them. They're City's bogey team. What do you want me? They are City's bogey team. It's just how it goes. For God knows what reason, City don't play well against Spurs. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because they see the white kit and they think they're Real Madrid or something. I don't know what the fuck the reason is. But I just think, look, Spurs are capable of scoring goals and City have been shipping goals. All I'm saying is just be clinical. Now, if they get, let me put it to you this way. If Spurs start the game really well and in the first 10, 15 minutes, they get 2, 3 chances, don't score any of them, they're going to get destroyed. 100%. But if they go out there and they score two goals, let's say, something like that, then they have a chance. They have a chance. 100% they have a chance. It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
No,
and you see Kate in the chat calling me shameless. So when I say your club is fucking shit and you're going to lose, you say I'm shameless. And when I say you're going to get a draw away at the toughest stadium in the league, I'm shameless. So I can't win. So what do you want me to say then?
You are shameless. You are shameless when you say. Let's go to some of these super chats here. This one says, Oh, these are not really about this game, to be fair. So kind of going backwards a little bit. We'll come back to them in a minute. We'll come back to them in a little bit because I want to kind of keep on this subject for a little while. She's back again here. I think what emoji is that? Oh, waffles. I didn't know what that was for a
Kate
second.
is so salty, man. Hold that, Kate. Hold that.
I'm surprised how none of Arsenal fans are agreeing with Lusam. They too need Spurs to do them a favour.
Fact. I mean, we're all coming on your Spurs this Sunday.
Everyone's going to want everyone in the title race will want Spurs to get something from this game, of course. Because
you know why we all want Spurs to get something? Because City are guilty. That's why. Deep down, we all know it, so we support everyone against them anyway, so they can hold that.
This Spurs loving you're worse than flawless is what Anton's got to say here.
Listen, it's just for 2 days, you know. After Sunday, I'll go back to saying fuck Ainge and Spurs are overrated and Spurs are crap, and then Kate will call me shameless anyway. But yeah, I think, listen, it's if Son is clinical, it's a possibility. The thing is, teams always get chances against Manchester City. Fucking Forest got chances away at Manchester City. Nottingham Forest got chances away at Manchester City. The problem is they don't take said chances. So if Son misses the opportunities, if Son misses the chances, if their team don't score, then yes, they are going to get destroyed. But if they score and they take their chances, then they have a chance. Simple as. So, did any of you think Luton were going to draw with Liverpool? Did any of you think Leipzig were going to be 2-0 up? Did any of you think Zvervena Zvezda were going to be 1-0 up against City at home in the Champions League? Things happen in football. That's why I'm giving logical reasoning. All I'm saying is when they do create that chance, even Terry just said they've scored in every single game. Spurs have scored in every single game. So when they do get that chance, if they are clinical and they take their opportunity, then no one's going to say anything. Then they have a chance. Simple.
We will see what's going to happen in that. This here says,
Unless I think he means.
Unless there we go. Unless they show City a little bit of respect like Arsenal did, City will be pumped. I agree. I can't see this.
The Arsenal approach is the total opposite approach, by the way. There's two approaches to beat Manchester City. The Liverpool approach and the Arsenal approach. The Arsenal approach is be 100% more reserved, you know, essentially. Not park the bus. Arsenal didn't park the bus, but Arsenal were reserved. And then when you get that chance, take it. Martinelli, prime example. The Liverpool way, which I think Postecoglou is going to attempt, which is essentially press the fuck out of Manchester City. If you press the fuck out of Manchester City, you win the ball in a dangerous position. You know, maybe Rodri decides to choke someone. You know, you never know what happens. Maybe Rodri chokes Bissouma this time. Bissouma's a very good diver. So, you know, he might go down on the floor. Red card right there. Anything can happen in a game of football. And I don't think it's impossible. I genuinely do not think it's impossible for Spurs to get something. That's just my honest opinion. And if they are reserved, and if they do take the more park the bus approach, they're going to get pumped even worse for me. So,
yeah. And I do understand that. As a gunner, 1 point each, bigger gap for Arsenal. Well, listen, Arsenal.
You're not thinking long term. You're not thinking long term. This is short term. This short termism right here. But respectfully, no one gives a fuck about who's top of the league in December. With all due respect, zero fucks given.
No.
To lose every single game. That's what.
No, I know you do, but at the same time, if they draw an Arsenal win, there's a 3-point gap. You'd rather have a 3-point gap over City right now than no gap.
No, I agree. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if City lose and Arsenal win, the gap then becomes 5 points. So that's my point. So I'd rather them lose.
4 points. No. I get that. I think from an Arsenal point of view, they're thinking they don't want Spurs anywhere near them. But no, I do hear you on that. And in terms of the title race, I mean, Arsenal play Wolves this weekend. They play before this match as well, so they can extend that lead to 4 points at the top. You also play on the Sunday as well, so they can extend it to 4 points at the top before City play, before Liverpool play, before Aston Villa play. How do you see Arsenal getting on?
First of all, let me start up by saying I think Arsenal hate is being forced right now on this platform. Many people just hating on Arsenal for the sake of it. To be honest with you, many people just out here like, oh, Arsenal this, Arsenal. Arsenal beat Lens 6-0.
When you say platform, you mean YouTube in general?
Yeah, YouTube in
Okay,
general, of
cool.
course.
I was about to say, I don't hate on Arsenal. I get
No, not you.
the opposite.
No, they accuse you of twerking for Arsenal anyway. So,
Yeah.
here's the thing with Arsenal. I think the Arsenal hate is forced. I'm a Liverpool fan. I've got no problem with Arsenal whatsoever, and I can recognize when a team is doing well. And I saw what Carragher was saying on the Monday Night Football thing, and I do agree with him. I think Arteta is being more pragmatic this season, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you shore up your defense, if you shore up the way that you defend, you're going to do a lot better for me in terms of like the overall title race. But when it comes to Arsenal Football Club, they beat Lens by 6 goals to 0, the same club that we mocked them for losing 2-1 away from home. So we have to give them credit for that.